Hello everyone, today I'm reviewing the ALM Turismo Complete Modular System. Let's take a look at it. Now, this is truly a cohesive system here. It really has one of everything. And I wish I had started modular just by buying this system. It wasn't available back 10 years ago or so when I got into modular. But now this makes a lot of sense for someone who's starting modular to get into, because it can be very difficult to choose the different components that you need and to know what you need. And here it all is in one shot. There's something to be said too for a consistent aesthetic, which this has. And it even has different colored knobs. These are special for this model. There's no colored knobs. And so I love the consistent look, the way you can tell the modules are a special color and part of this system. And then with the gold sides and the gold USB stick, it's just beautiful. It's a thing to really behold, and it's inspirational to walk up to it and you immediately want to start plugging things in and making music with it. And I kind of like the whimsical nature of the different fonts on there. There's some different font on most of them, and I would often, do stuff like that on my notebooks in high school, just writing the shadow of the letter. So for the way I make music, this is a perfect way to lay it out. I might move the Mega Milton over right here below, beside the pip slope for mixing in the sub for the TASM O. And so I'd like to have it more over here. But let's start over here on the left side. So it has MIDI input here. And the first time you get it, you can hit this Learn button. And you can decide what your 3 MIDI channels are going to be. I decided mine would be 1, 2, and 3. So MIDI channel 1 handles this first row, MIDI channel 2, and MIDI channel 3. If I put my key step like on MIDI channel 3, then I can play these gates and play them right into the squid sample. Next, you have your sampler. It records samples as well as plays them in 8 different channels. And then you have 3 CV inputs here where you can control various things. And these are kind of hardwired with volt per octave. So this is where you'd put your bass sample and maybe a house chord sample and then maybe an ear candy special effects type of sample. You can play them chromatically and play them musically. And there's a piece of software that ALM has made. You can quickly make sample banks for the squid sample. Then there's the Quade Megaslope, which is kind of like maths in a way, because both maths and the Quade Megaslope are kind of like function generators. In other words, they make CV shapes, voltage shapes. So much like the maths, you can use it as an envelope or LFO. Those would be the two obvious uses for it. But because the Quade Megaslope has 5 segments to it that you can clock, you can use this as a 5-step note sequencer, 5-step CV sequencer. Hook it to the filter and do a sample and hold type of sound with it. It has 3 modes to it. So there's the loop mode, it's already going, and the step mode where you'd run a clock into it. And there's the envelope mode. So I think it does math too, as well as the maths. So you could have your rise over run would give you your slope. Next we have a mult here, and I've used that many times for the envelope here, the pip slope. You run the pip slope to the top one there, and then you can take out 2 copies. And you run one to the filter and run one to the VCA, which is inside the mixer, and I'll get to that. So here we've got the TASM-O, which is an analog style oscillator with many different shapes in it. And in my previous video, I went over a patch with that. Then you have the Sizzle, which is based on the Casio CZ series. And it has 2 separate oscillators in it, and it will do chords, kind of preset chords in there. And then it has 3 modes, noise, ring, and res mode. Then you have the effects processor, which does multi-effects, delays, phaser, reverb, things like that. And then you have the multiple utility here that will do another mult. So now you've got 3 mult sections, and it has a sample and hold section. It has a slew for portamento section, the attenuation section where you can use as a little mixer to mix in the sub here of the TASM-O, and another mix right here, and it has the line to Euro. So it gives your audio, incoming audio, maybe a little boost to Euro levels there. Then it has a sequencer, the ASQ1, which is a multi-track sequencer. You've got a CV and gate, 2 CV and gate tracks, quantizer section, and 4 triggers there for the squid sample. Pam's Pro Workout is one that probably everybody has. It is 8 clocks being output, and a lot of other things. You can have LFOs, envelopes, all kinds of CV shapes. You can cross modulate between 2 different outputs, and has logic functions in there. It has, you can have 8 quantized Turing machines coming out of the output if you want. So I don't think you're going to need any more envelopes. You've got envelopes in here. You got the pip slope. You got the Quade Megaslope. You can record a CV of an envelope, maybe out of the pip slope, into the squid sample. And then you can use that recorded CV as your envelope. Then you have 2 filters. So you have one for the TASM-O and one for the Sizzle. Or you can link the 2 filters. And it has a high pass filter output, band pass notch, low pass filter for both filters. Then a really amazing mixer here, and the reason I like it so much is because I haven't had sins before on my mixer. And so I really love that it has sins, and I love that it has 4 VCAs, because I've always had to create room in my system to put several VCAs in there to keep my oscillators quiet. You have pans, and you also have 4 mutes on there. And then here you just have a headphone output. So that's everything that's in the system. And now let's patch something up. Okay, I'm going to start out with the preliminaries. I'm going to run my output here out of the headphone jack. And for that, I can do stereo, 3.5 millimeter. And I'm going to run my mixer out. So left side to left, right side to right on the headphone output. So now I've got an output out of my mixer. And I'm going to run this clock number 8 into the clock in on the ASQ1 to clock my sequencer. So now if I hit play on my sequencer and start that up, you can see it chasing light. So now this is going to be my start stop for the sequencer and everything else. It starts out like that, and it's on BPM. And if you click it, you can change that BPM. But if you just turn it, you can go all the way to clock number 8 and click on it, and you can set the clock multiplier. And I have it set to ×4 to control the ASQ1. Then on clock 7, I have it set to start. Now the start message is out beyond your clock multipliers. So you just keep going up and you eventually get to start. Now I'm going to go ahead and set output 6 as well. I'm going to set it to stop. If I didn't send this stop message, my break chops. Like if I hit stop and I'm on chop 5, it's going to restart on chop 5. So I want that to reset to the 1, and I'm going to plug that stop signal into this channel input. Now it's very easy to chop up a break on the squid sample, and it's easy to align the break just by changing the pitch of it. So from the main menu here, I'm going to put the break on channel 8 and chop it up. So if you hit USB twice, you can see your folder system. And I've put a folder on there called breaks. So I'm going to get into that. I'm going to go ahead and run the output of the squid sample from mix out. I'm going to run it into my mixer. So now I can hear the break, and I will load that in there. This is a really dusty sounding break, so I would tell you not to judge the squid sample on its sound from this break. It has a pristine quality sound. So to chop it up, I'll hit Function plus Q button. And then there's an option for split. I'll click on that. So you don't really see anything on the menu now, but if you go up to the top, you can see that now I have 2 chops. So it's been chopped in 2. I'll go back down here to split, and I'll hit it 2 more times. Still don't see anything, but if you go up here, now you see that I've got 8 chops. And I can listen to those individually. And I could play them at random or step through them. I'm just going to set it to step through them. And I'm going to run a clock into 8. So I'm going to run it out of 5, output 5 of Pam's, and into 8. Okay, and I'm going to turn it to a ×2 clock. And it sounds like this. And it's just stepping through the pieces of the drum break. Now I can put it on random and randomly chop. Now, if you have a break that you need to align, all you got to do is turn this volt per octave encoder there and pitch it up or down, and it'll align. Come out of the output A of the sizzle. into the MCF2. I'm going to come out of the high pass filter output. And then I'm going to go into my mixer. Now the Sizzle makes a lot of different preset chords, and this one's kind of a Boards of Canada sounding chord. But I'll let you hear some of the chords it makes. Now I want to be able to play these chords in using this keyboard here. So I'm going to run the CV to the volts per octave input of the Sizzle. And so it'll be quiet when I'm not pressing a key. I'm going to run the gate output out of the ASQ1 and into this VCA right there. Let me put the mode of it on the first sequencer there. I think it would sound good to vary that cutoff there a little bit. And I'm going to use the Quade Mega Slope as a kind of an LFO, let's say a modulator. It won't be a perfect LFO signal. And I'm going to put that in the frequency input there of the MCF. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and record that part into the ASQ1. All right, so then I'm going to make kind of a little flute sound to go along with that Boards of Canada chord. So I'm going to run my CV and gate out of my sequencer here. We'll run the CV to the volt per octave input of the Tasmo. I'm going to run the gate signal to the pip slope. Going to run the output of my envelope to the mult, because I want to make 2 copies of the envelope output. One of those copies I'm going to send to the VCA portion of the mixer. And that keeps it quiet unless there's an envelope. The other envelope I'm going to take to the frequency input on the side 1 of the filter there. I'm going to take the low pass output of the filter into the mixer. I'm going to take the sine output of the Tasmo, put it into the in of side 1 of the filter there. All right, I'm going to use the send here, the effects send. And I'm going to send an effect up there out of this send and into the MFX input. And then I'm going to take the 2 returns out, and I'll get a stereo effect out of there to bring the returns back. I'm going to frequency modulate the pitch a little bit. I'm going to go here to the TZ FM, and I'm going to run output clock 4 out. And that one I'm going to change to an LFO. So if I go here to, and so if I click on shape and go to the LFO shape, there we go. Or I could even go to like the triangle. I'll go to the triangle shape. And I can frequency modulate that flute note. So here I have the sizzle making kind of a sample and hold sound, and that's happening because I'm running a random wave out of the Pamela's Pro Workout into the algorithm selection of the sizzle. Then over on the squid sample, I am running the Quade Mega Slope into the CV controls section of the squid sample. It's kind of scanning through these slices. At the same time, a regular gate is coming in. And so I'm getting these unique and unexpected beats out of it. I did a little cover of Boards of Canada Davey Addison, so go check that out. It's the video I made right before this one. This video is getting a little long, so I think I'll wrap it up here. Be sure to subscribe, click the bell for all, and thank you for watching this. I'll see you in the next one.